What? If your eye is damaged, you can use a tooth to replace it. It even restores vision, helping blind people see again. Is cross-organ transplantation really that advanced now? Brent Chapman, a Canadian man, suffered right eye blindness for 20 years from medication. Over those 20 years, he underwent over 50 eye surgeries, including corneal transplantations. But none truly restored his sight. Then, this past June, a medical team at UBC successfully performed a tooth-in-eye surgery on Brent. After the surgery, Brent really could see again. I'm Dr. Jungding Jing, a geriatrician. How does tooth-in-eye surgery work? Can it cure blindness? And what price must be paid? Let's use science as the key to unlock a long, healthy life. To understand how a tooth can save an eye, we first need to understand this thin yet vital part of the eye, the cornea. The cornea is the eye's outermost crystal clear film. It's under 0.5 millimeters thick, thinner than a contact lens, but small as it is, it provides over 2/3 of the eye's focusing power. If the cornea isn't clear, no matter how images enter the eye, what you see will still be blurry. That's why the cornea has a very special design to stay clear at all times. It has no blood vessels at all, because blood vessels would cloud it instantly and block light. So it gets nutrients only from tears and the aqueous humor. You can think of it as a little garden nourished by tears. Dryness or harsh conditions make the whole garden wither fast. Also, the cornea is extremely sensitive, with even denser nerve endings than your fingertips. That's why even a tiny dust speck under contact lenses feels like sandpaper rubbing the eye. So when our cornea is healthy and clear, the world we see is clear. But if, from injury, infection, or immune disease, it turns cloudy and scarred, your vision can easily become blurry, or you may see only faint light and shadows. So at that point, doctors consider treatments. Beyond non-surgical options, the common surgical choice is a corneal transplant. A corneal transplant is like replacing a scratched lens with a pristine. It's definitely a completely brand new one. And for most patients, this works. But in some very severe cases, the problem isn't just the glass itself, but the whole window frame. The tear production is too low, so no matter how many times you replace the cornea, it will likely get damaged again. A classic example is what we call Stevens-Johnson syndrome. We can call it SJS. SJS is actually a very rare but severe skin allergic reaction. Its main feature is that it causes widespread epidermal necrosis and mucosal ulcers. In Taiwan, the incidence is about 8 cases per several million people. That's 4 times the rate among white people. That's because many Chinese people carry genes that make SJS more likely. For example, HLA-B*5801 or HLA-B*1502. We have a high rate of these genes, and some drugs can easily trigger SJS, especially these 4: anticonvulsants, urate-lowering drugs, antibiotics, and NSAIDs. Of course, not every drug in these classes will do so, but take this case's patient, Brent Chapman. When he was 13, after taking ibuprofen to relieve pain and inflammation, he suddenly had a severe reaction. That severe immune reaction left the surface of his eyes chronically inflamed and dry. It was like land scorched by fire, unable to retain moisture. The surface of his eyes was burned, and his left eye went blind from infection. His right eye nearly lost all vision too. In that kind of condition, even if you implant a new cornea to boost graft survival, it will soon die. Our earlier study showed that the 2-year survival rate of corneal grafts was merely 35% to 70%. In other words, even if you work hard to find a donor, a new cornea, it often won't last more than a few years before it fails again. That's why the medical field began looking for a more extreme approach to treat this condition. And as it turned out, the answer was hiding in the teeth we use every day to bite and chew. Earlier this year, the medical team at UBC in Canada performed the country's first tooth-in-eye surgery. This procedure, known as OOKP, was done on the man we just mentioned, Brent Chapman. Due to his drug reaction that led to Stevens-Johnson syndrome, he was nearly blind in both eyes. Worse, he had already undergone over 50 surgeries, yet not one truly restored his sight. So this time, The doctors chose an approach for him. That sounded like a crazy experiment. They removed one of Brent's own teeth, along with its alveolar bone, and shaped it into a natural base to hold a lens. Then, they took a specially designed artificial lens and set it inside, like mounting a tiny camera lens onto the tooth bone. Why use tooth bone at all? It is hard and vascularized, and can hold the lens more firmly than any piece of plastic or metal ever could be. Thus, it fixes Brent's insufficient tear secretion and protects his cornea. There's an even crazier part. This tooth bone lens isn't put into the eye right away. Instead, it's first buried in Brent's cheek muscle for several months. Why do we need this step? Because the cheek is like a greenhouse. Its rich blood flow helps the tooth bone and lens slowly grow blood vessels and become a living scaffold. If we skip this step and directly implanted it into the dry, ischemic corneal environment, it would die right away. Then, after a few months, once the scaffold has fully integrated with the body, this tooth bone lens is moved to the center of the eye to replace the original cloudy cornea, so light can reach the retina again and restore vision. The hard part is that, besides the surgery itself already sounding so hard, it can't be done by just one specialty. It spans ophthalmology, oral surgery, and even the whole field of plastic surgery. Every step is like walking a tightrope, but the miracle was that when Brent opened his eyes, he saw more than light and color. He could even make out his family's faces. This case is seen as a milestone in Canadian medicine. It wasn't just a surgical success. It also marked the official launch of North America's OOKP Center. This surgery raised an even bigger question. Why teeth of all things? Medicine is advanced. Why this weird surgery instead of artificial corneas or the latest high-tech materials? Well, we actually tried that. In patients with dry eye or eye inflammation, artificial corneas usually don't last long. They either get infected or get rejected by the immune system. Some patients might see briefly after implantation, but within months, they are back in the dark. This kind of short-lived hope that vanishes almost at once is torturous for both patients and doctors. And that's exactly why the medical community eventually turned back to the body's own most stable parts, teeth. Teeth have an inherent alveolar bone and blood supply. They're like a living part that integrates naturally with the body. Firm in texture, they can stably fix the lens without loosening like plastic or metal materials. Plus, the periodontal tissue can also regulate immunity, helping it survive longer in such a harsh environment. So can we use someone else's tooth? The answer is almost no. Once it's not your own tissue, it'll quickly be absorbed or rejected. So this surgery essentially requires your own tooth. Like building a house, one's own bricks are the most reliable. Bricks from someone else fit poorly, but may also crumble at a touch. At this point, you might wonder, how long will this surgery last? Could it also be just a short-lived miracle? A recent large study published in 2025 in the BMJ has tracked over 300 eyes for an average of 16 years. The results showed that after 20 years, more than 70% of patients could still see. And after 45 years, which is truly a long time, almost into late middle age, half of them could still see. In other words, this surgery isn't a flash in the pan. It benefits patients for the last few decades of life, turning those destined to live in darkness into people who can watch their kids grow up and see the sunset in old age. Still, this surgery has limitations. Some develop glaucoma post-op due to eye pressure issues. Others may have the lamina reabsorbed by the body and need another repair surgery. Some may even lose their vision from retinal detachment. Taken together, these complications may affect around 20% to 30% of patients. Furthermore, while the surgery solves blindness, in terms of appearance, the prosthetic eye looks very different from a real one, which brings other challenges for patients, especially younger ones, whose mental development isn't yet mature. For someone like Brent, who was only 13 when his cornea was damaged, after successful surgery, the challenge of readjusting to society may have just begun. So while the tooth-in-eye procedure can change a life, it also means the patient must accept a lifetime of follow-up and risk management. The eyes are the windows to the soul. Learning to take proper care of them helps your eyes last longer. Spending time in nature and avoiding prolonged screen exposure can help relax the ciliary muscle. Wear sunglasses and blue light filters to reduce damage from blue light and UV rays. Take nutrients in moderation, like lutein, anthocyanins, vitamins A and C, and more. Good protection frees you from eye trouble and keeps your teeth safe too. Here's a question for you. Do you know which tooth is used in OOKP eye surgery? To restore someone's sight? Comment your answer. Follow us for medical breakthroughs. Stay tuned to our show and click subscribe. Join Team Health. Let's stay healthy together.